Guys, thanks for joining me still. I got called out by a neighbor, not in a negative way, but in a curiosity way. He he's seen my stuff, and he's a good guy, late in life friend, very good guy. One of the few neighbors I would trust his numbers on when he starts talking about production numbers. There's a lot of people that think you can spray insecticide for $1 an acre, and when them neighbors tell you, well, it only cost me $1 to spray that insecticide, well, then you know them neighbors don't really know their true costs of production. And so he knows his true costs of production, and he says, well, you should bring your costs over and we can compare. And I said, you bet, any day. I will gladly bring them numbers to you, because he knows that we use a farm manager, and then we've got the fin pack and all that field by field data to provide them numbers for us. And I said, before I even bring that stuff over though, I said, myself versus myself, where I was doing it the conventional way and where I'm at now on corn is over $100 an acre less. On beans, we're not far from that $100 an acre less. And he right there, he's like, oh, okay. And then you start the spiel of, and what's the long-term thing? If I gain 1% organic matter in 10 years, how much better fertility mineralization am I going to have? How much lower inputs am I going to have then to grow the same crop? How much more drought tolerant am I going to be, and all them benefits? I'm like, how do you put a price on that? It's very easy to put a price when it's a drought year. If during a drought year I have 10% better crop through the drought than I would have previous soil health farming versus conventional farming, if I got 10, 20, 30, 40, 50% better crop during an equal kind of drought, well then that's very easy to put a number on. I made 50% more money or 20% more money, or I only lost 50% or 70% instead of 80 or 90% of the money. And then he's like, yep, all right, okay, yeah, well, okay, well, you could still bring the numbers over if you want. It's just like, guys, and I'm trying so hard to get this through to people, that when all the neighbors are just like, yep, I tried some no-till beans, they better be within 4 bushel or I'll go back to conventional beans. Well, you're missing the whole point. You're just not getting it. You're not open-minded enough. You're just not accepting the truth of what's going to happen. Is there time at a no-till soybean year versus a conventional year? Could you say that the no-till beans did worse? You bet. That could happen. Over a 10-year period, if you stuck to a minimum till program, cash flow wise, we've been no-till beans, no-till strip till beans for the last 4 or 5 years, and we still did full tillage corn for several of them years. We have yet to have a worse year than prior to moving to the reduced tillage, no-till strip till beans. But so there's more to it than just the yield. And everybody that still wants to talk yield, well, how did that field yield? You're still stuck in the past. You're still stuck in the past. If you want to talk, how come nobody ever talks about, well, how did that field profit? So this year, when everybody asks me, well, how did that field yield? I just tell them it profited very well. I am extremely happy. I got that 130 acre field almost done. It profited very well. That field more than paid for itself with a good amount of profit. Somebody asked how I can say that with these poor prices. I did good marketing. I got lucky with my marketing. Well, I didn't get lucky. I worked for my marketing. I didn't have to physically bust my back like carrying concrete like I used to, but I was diligent on and checking my markets 90 times a day and finding a good price. And so, yeah, yep. So I did awesome. Yeah, I guess I can say I did a great job without sounding horrible. I guess I shouldn't have to feel that way. Yes, I did a good job of doing my diligence and marketing my grain very well. I will have a lot of unpriced corn simply because I am going to be 40, 50 bushel above my historical average. So a lot of that unpriced corn will have to figure out how to get into Big Blue right there off the tip of my finger. Big old Blue. I'll have to figure out how to turn him into the grain storage, so we can sit on some of this till river opens next summer and markets pick up a little bit. But yeah, so that was a fun conversation with that neighbor. I enjoyed that a lot. That was so fun. And then when you bring in the cost of what does it cost you to make deep ruts on that field versus not making as bad of ruts. So then the following year, you don't have to spend as much money trying to rip up them ruts. You don't have to spend as much money over several years for fighting that compaction spot and blah, 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 blah. And it just, yeah, this is an unlosable argument if anybody really wants to sit down and argue. And somebody had asked of what do my other neighbors think. I don't care what my neighbors think in the way of I have to do what pays my bills. I care what my neighbors think as long as that I'm doing a good job on weed control. As long as my neighbors can't drive my field and be like, look at the water hemp, look at the ragweed, what in the frick is he doing? I think the neighbors clearly know I'm simply trying to find a better way. When I say conventional till doesn't work here, that's not a slam on them. That's just a slam on conventional tillage doesn't work here. That's a fact. You can argue. I get 29 people a year that tell me no till doesn't work here, so I can be the one guy that says, well, conventional till don't work here. How can I say that? Look at all my other videos. Look at our cash flows per acre on direct crop expenses. Look at our water infiltration rates. Look at the corn crop versus everybody else's corn crop with good nutrient management program applied to a no-till, strip till, minimum till, rotational till kind of program. It's unarguable, plain and simple. Anybody that wants to say that no-till and strip-till don't, they can say it. That's their right. They have their own farm to manage. So there isn't an animosity or a screw my neighbors type thing. There's a lot of them that we get a pretty good chuckle when I have a failure. I was at a dinner the other week, and one farmer brought up the fact of, did you see that soybean field last year over on Highway 70? Man, that thing looked horrible. I wonder whose that was. And I was like, well, that was mine. That was mine, Darnell. Thank you very much. And he's like, oh my God, no. I'm like, no, it was tough. It was tough. That was a learning experience. We learned that you do not do no-till soybeans behind old sod. North Dakota has known that for a lot of years. You do not do no-till soybeans behind old CRP. Why? We're not really sure why. All we know is it does not work. Now I see that it does not work. So moving forward, I will not do that. So that was a learning experience. And he said, well, how did that field yield? And I said, well, to be honest, it was only a couple bushels less than a lot of the other soybean fields around it. It just happened to look a lot worse than a lot of the fields around it. But yeah, so the neighbors think it's kind of funny. I've never heard a lot of negative, like, he's an effing idiot. I've heard a lot of, hey, you're kind of a screwball. Why don't you just go back to doing what works? And then we get into the conversation of what used to work doesn't work. But yeah, no, the neighbors take it with light. There are some positive neighbors that are like, you need to hurry up and get this figured out because we know conventional farming isn't working for us. We have no other alternative right now. So hurry up and figure out how to bring a cover crop system, a better nutrient management system, a more efficient system into a full tillage corn bean farm so they can start reaping some benefits and making some money. And so that makes it kind of fun. That really makes it kind of fun when you have a half a dozen neighbors of, well, you be the guinea pig, and when you get it figured out, you let us know. So then we'll just come and follow your program. Yeah, so for the most part, the neighbors have fun with it. But yeah, any time a neighbor could have laughed at me, I've already laughed at me first. There's a lot of times this year I would not hate to be a neighbor. This year we're doing good. We're starting to get a lot of the learning curves worked out, and it shows on the crop this year. But yeah, guys, I will leave it right there. I gotta go get my paperwork in order to go visit the neighbor to lay some financial smackdown on some old school guys. And so, all right, actually I gotta go to an auction and look for a big old fancy manure spreader and possibly a big fancy new tractor. So guys, thank you very much for watching, and we'll keep you updated.